Hey yogis, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey. I'm Kelsey Yogi here on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And today I am just happy to be back with you again on my mat. It's been a long time no see. I had a shoulder surgery that really took me out for a while. At the very end of March 2022, I had completely torn my rotator cuff and I had a tear in my labrum. This had been going on for years and years. I knew that this was coming and I just couldn't deal with it through COVID and kids having lots of injuries, and finally it was time and I had it completely repaired. You can't tell, very small incisions, but anyway, I am on the other side of it now, 3 months post-op and starting to tiptoe back into my practice. So today I thought it would be a great day to not use my arms at all, work on those abs, work on that core. I had a question about those V-sits, that boat pose, Navasana. It's a dreaded posture, it's a tough one, and I gotta tell you, no matter how long you've done yoga or any type of ab work, boat pose is hard. V-sits are really hard. Like, I can do them and I still don't really enjoy it. It's not one of my favorite postures. Now I have a kid who has like an 8-pack. She don't mind it too much, but I think she's just bragging because it's a tough one no matter what. So don't fool yourself. No matter how strong you are, some postures are just always going to be challenging, and that's okay. We got to show up for it. We are here for the hard stuff. So I'm going to give you my best tips on how to get you through boat pose Navasana, especially if you're in Ashtanga, because you got 5 of them in the primary series. 5 of them, and you got to hold them for 5 breaths, and that's if your teacher counts quickly. My teacher does not count quickly. Okay, so this is my best tips for coming into boat pose. Let me first show you what boat pose Navasana is. It's when you sit down on your bum, kind of at the back of your sit bones, so you don't want to be forward. You're kind of just at the back of them, and the chest is lifted. See how I'm already at an erect posture here? I'm not tucking the tail underneath, I'm not rounding through the back too much, falling back. This boat is sinking, but you're somewhat upright. And then the legs lift. And darn it, those legs are heavy. Do not fool yourself. It's really, really tough. So there's a lot of different variations that you can do, and I first of all don't want you to feel bad if you work on those variations, if you work on that modification. Who freaking cares? The point is that you show up for it and do the very best that you can, and then maybe eventually you get to that full pose. So if your boat starts off with 1 foot down, arms lifted, awesome. We're working on the strength of that leg. We're not worrying about the leg that is down. Just make sure that you give it equal amounts on both sides. Or another really great variation is to do a tuck up or a tuck sit. Keep the knees bent. That's still a lot of work. Maybe work on getting the feet up so that the legs are parallel to the ground. But if you gotta touch the toes down, but you're still keeping that great chest posture, you're lifting, the arms are reaching, a little protraction between the shoulder blades, that's still something. And then finally, another great option, and I'm not saying I don't do this one because I certainly do too, especially on that 5th Navasana in the primary series. You're in that boat pose and you're shaking and your legs are quivering. You gotta just bend and hold for a second. That's okay. Hold for a second, don't stay here, and come back as soon as you can. And if you start to collapse, hold it for a sec, come right back again. So use those modifications as you're learning, as you're gaining strength. Who freaking cares? It doesn't matter. All right, so now let's talk about how we can get strong and flexible, because yes, flexibility is a huge part of doing this V-sit or this boat pose. One of the things that I worked on in the beginning was to just work the strength of the hip flexors. So that muscle that is at the front and the very tops of your thighs, yeah, we use them all the time as we are walking and moving around in life, but are they used to lifting up the entire leg? No, they might push it forward, but they are not lifting up at such an angle. It's a lot of work. So you're gonna have to do a lot of different exercises to start gaining that strength. You're gonna shake, you're gonna quiver. Be there for it. It doesn't matter. I shake all the time in that posture, and I just think, it's like weakness leaving my body, let's just let it happen. Who friggin' cares? So one of the ones I do a lot, and I use this one a lot when I was working on getting my legs stronger for my presses and handstand. So if you're working there, this is a great exercise to do for that as well. You can start with hands down, hands on your hips, reach the arms out. Depending on where you're at, hands down is a bit easier, but sit up straight, try not to fall all the way back, and just lift the legs up and over. I'm sure you've seen this in my other videos that I've used this a lot. I think it's a great beginner exercise for working on strengthening those hip flexors. You can keep the block very low, work slowly on getting it higher and higher. You can stack blocks so that you're really having to get up and over. And then you can do multiple blocks too. So you get 3 or 4 blocks lined up and you get those legs bouncing right over each one. And you don't gotta do this every day. Do it once a week. If you have a leg day, add it on your leg day. If you have a primary series day, add it in on your primary series day. work those hip flexors. Another way to do it that's super challenging is to maybe try lifting both legs at the same time. Now that's pretty hard to do without a little bit of rocking back, because I have to pull those hip flexors up and then the hips the femur bones back into the hip sockets. So there's a little bit of a rock, but you want to try to minimize that as much as you possibly can. And one of the great ways to minimize that is to engage the legs. So I have those kneecaps lifted, quadriceps engaged, low belly is pulling in, chest lifts. I can also use the fingertips just a little bit just to kind of avoid any sway. And you could even do this if you're just doing 1 foot at a time. It's not a cheat if you're working on getting strong posture. So play with those different exercises, add different heights, add different blocks, do your thing. Okay, the next exercise, and I really love this, I learned these from my gymnast kids, is to use a band. And you can use cloth bands or these thin plastic bands, rubber bands, whatever they are. And I like to put it on and then make a figure 8, so that infinity shape. Put the other foot through. You don't have to do that, but I like that version. It's up to you. Just hold the wall a little bit for balance, and then I just lift the leg. You can do 10, 25, 30, whatever you need to do depending on the strength, the toughness of your band. So you can do out to the front, out to the side, and then back behind you too. This one doesn't as so much work the hip flexors, but it's definitely working those glutes. And since you already got the band on, let's do it. And then there's also the option of knee lift and kick. Lift, kick. Gotta tell you, sometimes those rubber bands will get caught on any little leg hairs or skin, so be prepared for that to kind of hurt a little bit. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly do the other side because, in that V-sit, we're lifting both legs, we're not lifting just one. In the beginning, go with a very light band, because if you're not used to working those hip flexors, oh baby, they're gonna be talking to you. You're definitely gonna be feeling it the next day. And wowza, that language may not be nice when you wake up in the morning. So start light and just see how you feel. We're trying to get those hip flexors woken up, ready to work. But we aren't trying to be limping the next day, right? So up, kick, kick. I have worked up to doing 30, 40 per leg in all 3 directions. Sometimes I need a second set, sometimes one is enough. We're not trying to totally toast the hip flexors. We're trying to wake them up. We're trying to make them strong, but we are not trying to completely poop them out. And the other favorite thing that I really like to do is use ankle weights. Another thing that I would do very often when I was working on gaining my presses, put these ankle weights on, and you're gonna take something that is a little difficult, V-sits are a little difficult, and you're gonna make them really difficult. Now all of a sudden, what you could sort of do, holy moly, you can't. But you're gonna work those muscles and they're gonna get so strong. And I promise you, when you take those ankle weights off, those legs are gonna lift like, oh my gosh, I almost fell backwards because I felt so strong and so powerful. I forgot what that extra weight was like without it. Go light, start with 1 pound. 2 pound is actually a lot. And if you've watched my LSIT video, same kind of exercises that you want to do for that LSIT video, I'll try to link that down below, but just lift those legs. Make sure that, again, that you're pulling the femur bone, the thigh bone, pull it back into the hip socket, lift the kneecap, engage the quad. I like to point the toe, but you certainly can flex the foot. I think if you're new to working the legs, sometimes flexing the foot is a little bit easier to, get that signal to the body that I need you to stay active, I need you to work. Sometimes the toe point, it just comes from the foot and it doesn't engage that entire leg. And you can do this from side to side. You can do 2 legs at once. You can just work on holding your V-sits. Whoo-wee, let's see. Oh, definitely not the same shape that I had without the ankle weights on. And I'm thinking of internally rotating the legs, pulling the femur bones down and in, activating the quads, lift, lift. 3, 2, 1. Everything is a challenge with just a little bit of extra weight. Now again, don't burn out those muscles. Don't go to the point where you're totally fatigued, but just ask a little bit more of them. Say, hey, I know you're used to lifting your legs, but now I want you to lift your legs plus a pound. You're thinking a pound's nothing, but put it on and holy moly, it's so much harder. So those tips work super well for teaching those hip flexors how to work. When you are in those V-sits though, make sure those quads are working, make sure the kneecap is lifted and engaged. it makes a huge difference. The other thing that I want you to focus on is that flexibility. So if you have very tight hamstrings, it's gonna be hard to lift those legs. If you already can't sit with the legs straight, but now all of a sudden you wanna sit with the legs straight and lift it, now we're talking strength and flexibility. So you may have to just work on that hamstring flexibility before you can get the legs straight for your V-sit. A tuck sit is a great place for you to hang out while you're working on lengthening those hamstrings. So make sure you're spending a little bit of time, maybe every day, maybe every other day, working on that length of the back of the legs. One of the things that I have found to be helpful when I work in this is to make sure that the feet aren't turning in, but even the pinky toes are turning back. It's kind of a lazy foot thing to let those toes roll in. Instead, the arch of the foot faces straight forward, pinky toes, big toes, everything's pulling back. Quads are lifted. I'm hinging at the hips, right? I'm pulling the femur bone back and in so that I'm really reaching back through the sit bones, and I'm reaching long through the heels so every bit of my leg is nice and long. And then not only is every bit of my leg nice and long, but my spine stays long. So if you can go here and then whoop, the knees start to bend, then hang out here. Hang out here. There is no rush to get all the way down on the floor. It doesn't make a huge difference, and it certainly doesn't make you a better person. So just work with what you have, but slowly, maybe using a strap, maybe using a block. Slowly, little bits at a time. It may take months and months or years and years. You'll slowly get farther and farther down. But remember, it's about that length, the length of the leg, the length of the spine. Shoulders are down and away from the ears. And keep breathing. So if this is a really difficult posture for you, and I know it is, that for a lot of people have very strong, so extremely tight hamstrings. Hang out there. Breathe through it. I've seen the people that are the toughest, tightest here, they're like, and done. That's not gonna do the trick. You need to settle into that discomfort. Give yourself 30 seconds and then drop the shoulders, relax the jaw, pull the low belly in, and then just breathe. So when we slow that breath down, we're starting to tell our autonomic nervous system, relax and let go. There's no need to freak out and run away from this posture. Tell your body that it's safe to be here and you're not gonna be hurt, because you know when you love your body more than anybody else, and you're just here to help it find a little bit more space. And if that space comes very slowly, I accept that. I'll be here for it. So breathe through your discomfort. Release what you can release. Stay calm where you can stay calm. These things matter so much. When you hold your breath, you lock in that discomfort and the frustration and the I can't do it. So soften, let go. Maybe even, when you're laying in bed at nighttime, put a pillow, do it yin. Put a pillow over your legs, chill, watch a minute or two of your show like that. Okay, so the knees bend a little bit. Who cares? Watch your Gilmore Girls or whatever you're watching and just chill with it. And when you can distract the mind, you'll find that the breath starts to settle, the legs start to relax, nothing's being forced, and you're safe in your own body. And then before you know it, you're folding a little deeper, and you fold upon yourself in peace. And then we are ready to work that V-sit. So we'll go back to what we said at the very beginning. Come into the back of those sit bones. Lift the chest. If your boat's sinking, it's not going to be a very pretty boat, very pretty Navasana, so sit up as best you can. Lift the chest, maybe even lift the chin just a little bit, because we don't want to drop the head down. I know it's hard. You can reach the arms out like we do in the Primary Series, we do in Ashtanga, but you can also keep your hands at your heart. You can even keep your fingertips down. There are always choices, and none of them are wrong. It means you're working your V-sit, your boat, the way that you need to keep it afloat, to get there and get stronger at it. And when you're ready, maybe come to the tips of the toes. I'm hugging those knees in. I got the upper body where I want it. My chest is lifted, my chin is up. I believe in myself. I can do all kinds of hard things. I'm here for it. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not a bad person. I'm just in my journey. I'm getting better each day. Reach the arms. Pull the belly button towards the spine. The abs are ready to assist the hip flexors. Maybe one leg, maybe the other. I can do all things. And be where you are. Follow your breath. A little internal rotation of those thighs. Activate the quads, lift the knees. Reach through the fingertips, gazes to the tip of the nose, maybe to the toes. Femur bones pulled down and in, chest lifts. Let's hold for one more breath. And exhale, lower the knee, or bend the knees, lower the toes. And there you go. Another nice thing you can do, I just thought of, is squeeze the block with your feet. So if it's new to you and you're having a very hard time engaging the legs get kind of floppy up there, you could put the block between your calves or between your ankles, knees, anything like that. Between the knees will be a little easier, between the ankles may be a little harder, or vice versa for you, and squeeze that block together. Squeeze that block together. And work on holding that for a breath or 5. Put the ankle weights on, hold that for a breath or 5. Be there if it's a tuck sit, who cares? Be there if you gotta hold behind the knees. I do it in the primary series. When my teacher turns her back, so I grab behind my knees for a half a second. It happens. It doesn't make me a bad yogi. It just means I'm showing up for myself with the very best that I can that day. So anyways, there's your boat pose Navasana V-sit. I hope it helped you. It is hard. It is hard, but we can do hard things. You can do hard things. I'm here for you. Please tag me on Instagram or on TikTok. I'd love to see what you're doing with your V-sit. Hang in there, breathe through it, let the shaking happen, right? Who flipping cares? Drink your water, be kind to people. Have a great day. It was so good to see you again. Namaste.